Camelot 331 here, and it's about that time again. It's been a minute, and we need to revisit this, because it's a very important issue facing our young people and some old people today. And what is that? It's fast food, man. It's slaving away in there and getting spit on by literally the worst kind of people at their worst. And they're usually really obese, which makes it worse because it's gross. So I've got some entries, and I've compiled the worst ones possible just for you. And wait till you see the last one I have for you. It's absolutely outrageous. But before we get into it, make sure you give me a thumbs up doodle. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't. It would really help me out. We got a ways to go. So without further ado, let's dive right into this terrible poop-filled mess. And it is poop-filled. I had a rough-looking guy in a beat-up truck try to use 1-year-old coupons. I refused to take them. That was a mistake. It always is. He held up the drive-thru and screamed at me, including the sentence, "Smarten up, son, or you're going nowhere in life." Made me feel like crap until I realized that someone like that who was screaming those things at a 15-year-old running a drive-thru probably didn't go anywhere in life. And this is a daily thing. You gonna get screamed at by big old scary fat guys in beat up trucks. Next one. Worked at a Wendy's for 2 weeks. This is going well already. Worked at a Wendy's for 2 weeks. Wasn't bad until someone spread poo all over the men's restroom and they wanted me to clean it up. It was on the ceiling, the toilet, and all the walls. Like someone had a poop confetti bomb. Just rubber gloves and no mask. Oh, Jesus. I said F it and quit. As you should. Listen to this for a second. Why do people think that fast food employees are hazmat workers? You're not hazmat workers. You can't be rolling around in poo with no mask. There's no telling what's in the poo, man. Especially if it was that projectile. There was something wrong with that person. They probably have some kind of zombie disease, and you can't be rolling around in the poo. The zombie poo disease. It's up and coming. No one knows about it yet. This guy has it. Next one. I worked at Mcdonald's part-time while I was in college. One day I was working the drive-thru and this guy ordered a lot of drinks. One of them was low on soda syrup. But instead of just telling me about it like a rational person, so I could give him a replacement drink, he threw the extra large drink at me. And of course, the lid came off. And I was soaking wet, son. Whew. Wow. The manager, who was actually pretty good as far as fast food managers go, saw this happen. He took off running into the parking lot, flagged the dude down before he could leave, and told him to never come back. Then came in and found me a dry uniform. That's a pretty good manager. Where can I find a manager like this? Because that doesn't exist. I feel like going to a fast food joint, for some reason, brings the World War II out of us. Because we use drinks as grenades, man. Why do we always use the drinks as grenades? Next one. Worked at Mickey D's as my first job at 15. Worst thing I probably saw was one of the guys working the fryer tripped, and when he reached out to stop himself from falling, he ended up with half of his hand in the fry oil. Ooh, oh my gosh. That's like a weird irrational fear that I have. Fry oil. Like I always have like these weird dreams where somebody just like throws an entire bucket on my face, which is absolutely terrifying. But you're thinking to yourself, what was the aftermath? What was the aftermath of the fry hand guy? Well, the aftermath was a severely undercooked, tasteless hand. You gotta cook that thing longer, man. How you expect me to feed on you when I have the zombie poo disease if your hand is not thoroughly cooked? Medium well, at least. I take this one personally. This next one right here. I don't know why. It just hits me at home. I was a car hop at Sonic Drive-In through most of my high school years. I was the only guy that was able to use the roller skates. An extra creepy old man in a vehicle that might as well been in a scrapyard called me back to his car after I go back inside. And I'm guessing you went. He gave me a $15 tip because that ass needed a second look. At least your buns made you some money, man. At least you got that. That ass needed a second look, son. Oh, this was painful. Next one. I had a guy overdose and die in the bathroom while managing at Carl's Jr.'s. I was told to close the lobby but keep the drive-thru open. It was weird pooping where a dude died. Overdosing and dying in a bathroom at a fast food restaurant. What a way to leave this world. That's literally bottom tier. That's bottom tier. Only second to taking a face to a baseball bat fight. Only second to that. So next time you're at a fast food joint, don't die. That's the moral of the story. Next one. We had a notice board that customers could pin their adverts on. One week we took everyone's stuff off so we could use it for a memorial for our coworker who had just passed away. One customer came in and started going ballistic at us that we took her advert down. She didn't even care that it was a memorial. My coworker ended up crying at the back of the store for the rest of her shift. Oh, absolute soulless. It's like, I don't care about your dead friend. I have a yard sale Saturday, and you need to be there. Don't take my advert down, damn it. Next one. I feel like this happens way too much than it should. It's like, why are these half the stories? Was 15 and working for the Golden Arches in a big 2-story city location. An elderly lady came in to use the upstairs toilet, and when she came back down, she had poop caked all over her hands, which she dragged down the banister she used to steady herself on down the stairs. She then went and sat at a table for a moment before leaving. She clearly had dementia, although I didn't recognize it at the time. I was sent to the bathroom to investigate the damage, and it was a literal shit show. There is probably no better time to use that phrase. I reported back to my manager, who told me I had to clean it up. No thanks. I quit on the spot. I was not cleaning up poo for minimum wage. Once again, hazmat cleanup crew is not in the job description for fast food associates. Next one. Worked at Burger King a while back that stayed open until 2 a.m. One manager was actually a reasonable person and was an older lady that clearly paid her dues. At my store, we only had 2 closers, so from about 10 to 3 a.m., it was just me and the manager. The night I put my 2 weeks in, she was just grumpy and teary-eyed looking at her phone. And she's not usually the manager who does that. Her oldest child was going into a complicated premature labor, and nobody could help her. No area manager wanted to come out that late. Corporate didn't care, because that was part of the job. She was crying all night until we closed. We busted out of there 10 minutes after closing time. We broke so many rules that night. The only thing I have to say about that is screw corporate people and the corporate office for all these companies that think you should take time away from your children to make shitty hamburgers. Just saying. Next one. Someone said, give me some of those fresh baked cookies. I could smell you baking them. When first of all, we just reheat frozen ones, and secondly, we just put one in a microwave for a guest who asked us to. When we told him this, he started yelling and walked behind the counter to go check. Because he's allowed back there, apparently. I called my manager and he started pushing her around to go check, screaming, I want my fresh cookies. These are really important to him, apparently. He then tried to hit one of our team members in the back, and then took off his shirt in perfect fashion and screamed when she asked him to go away. We had to escort him out after calling the police. I feel like this person was probably bright blue, hairy, and had a gruffy voice. You know what I'm talking about? Next one. Worked at Mcdonald's for a bit. Went to hand an elderly lady her ice cream cone. She took it from me, pulled her arm into her car, took a lick, and then dropped the ice cream down her door. I genuinely felt bad for her and offered to give her another one and clean up if she would pull around. It was 100+ degrees out and I'm in full uniform. I began wiping the side of her door when she throws a plethora of insults my way. Of course. This is why your generation is so messed up. You saw I had braces on my wrist. You knew I had arthritis. Because he's a doctor, apparently, working at McDonald's. You should have never handed me that cone. You should ask if I wanted a cup instead. You'll probably only ever be a fast food worker. It's people like you that makes everyone's life hard. She said a few more things. The heat of the moment got the best of me. I threw the dirty napkins in her lap, told her to shut the hell up, reminded her that I was doing her a favor, and it wasn't my fault, advised her to order correctly, and told her to clean up her own goddamn mess. I walked back inside, explained it to my manager what I did, and in comes this lady. I'm a good, sweet Christian, and I would never disrespect someone. Doubt it. The manager told her to call corporate, but as he wasn't outside, he couldn't believe what she had to say. Where's everybody getting these decent managers, man? The moral of the story is, ignorant people in life usually become the a-holes when they're elderly. assuming the shadow of Dorwin doesn't catch up to them first. Next one. 2 grown men start a fist fight over whose food was whose. We put out an order and one man took it, but apparently it belonged to the other guy. He punched him in the face, reasonable reaction, and the food ended up on the ground and they started fighting. We had to call the police to break it up. When they were brought out of the restaurant, they were still trash-talking each other, and I believe the one who threw the first punch was arrested. Neither of them ever got their food. I mean, I've seen people get their food before me after I ordered before them a few times, but never have I wanted to punch them in the face. Maybe a little, but I've never acted on the face punch. So as you can see, working fast food hasn't changed at all. If you're thinking about doing it, I would just stay away. Stay away from fast food, man. Stay away from working in the fast food industry, because you're going to be covered in poop and chicken nuggets and fat roll sweat. It's going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to be terrible. And the zombie poo disease that's on the rise is going to get you eventually as well. And that's not something you want, because it's absolutely terrifying. It's just projectile all the time. Is that something you want? I don't want it to be projectile. Especially if it's aimed at me. So that's all I have today. These stories just keep getting worse. They never get any better. I wish it would end, and I wish somebody would get me off this ride, but they just won't. So I'm not gonna. So if you haven't yet, please join the Discord. Please like this video and subscribe if you have not. And until next time, get on it. Doggone it. Bye. Yeah.